Hi, Ross.
Hey, Joe.
I've got I've got some questions for you. Ross McIntosh, who is a business and coaching psychologist. He is a world expert in ACT, acceptance and commitment training slash therapy in the workplace. And he is also the host of the absolutely fabulous People Soup, which I'm sure loads of people have heard about. Uh, I've got a series of questions for you, Ross.
Yeah, I'm slightly nervous, Joe, but let's just dive in and I'll give it my best shot.
Excellent. Okay. I like a bit of nerves when doing these things. If this is one of my favorite questions, you actually asked it of me once, and I came up with a not so great answer, I thought. When you're walking to training and you could have the music blaring, a little bit like when you go into your wrestling match, and it's your entry song, and everyone's getting pumped and screaming and shouting, what would it be?
That's a tricky one because to do it so they're getting screaming and shouting and pumped, I'm not sure whether this does it, but I'm gonna throw it at you anyway and see what you think. It would be, it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. But it,
Oh, okay, right.
but it has to be a particular version. It
Okay,
has to be Fun Boy 3 featuring Bananarama,
okay, right.
who have a fairly kind of low key, almost sullen approach to singing, and they're not the best vocalists in the world, but it kind of makes me laugh. And I'm
Right.
not sure whether it would G up the audience.
No, probably not to kind of like WWF sort of levels. Maybe that's not a bad thing though. But
Hmm.
what's the vibe you're looking to get there then?
Um, a bit of warmth, I guess, a bit of amusement, a bit
Yeah.
of maybe for the certain element of the crowd, a bit of like, hey, this is a banger, I believe, as the kids call it.
That's what the kids do call it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nice.
Hmm.
Cool. I like that. I like that as a vibe in training, or indeed any interaction, a sort of lightness, a humor, bit of humor to it,
Yeah.
a bit of something's coming.
But I
Yeah.
would I would like to wear a cape if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd assumed you would be.
Yeah,
Definitely.
good,
Yeah.
good.
If you were to tell me a little bit about, like, I feel like everyone's talking about staff well-being, resilience. Which is great. I love that because it feels like people are recognizing work is important, and it's not just what we do, but maybe the way that we do it, like in a way that looks after people and people's
Mm.
well-being and health and happiness are important these days. What's the number one issue would you say is facing workplaces in terms of workplace well-being?
I may. There's a couple spring to mind, so I'll go with the one that resonates with me most, and it's
Mm,
finding the time to do it. There's
yeah,
a tension between wanting to support people, and there's a tension between that and people need to get on with their jobs.
right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure there's a perfect answer to that, but investing the time and the money
Mm,
in evidence-based behavioral science
mm,
is, well, I would say this, but it's always a win.
mm,
We know we've got a solid evidence base for it. So
mhm,
I would say that's number one. Other issues, people are really, I'm really pleased that psychological safety has become a real thing in
mhm,
organizations. Everybody's kind of heard of it nowadays,
mhm,
but it's not the case that you just say it three times and it happens.
mhm,
You need to really think about how it's going to appear in people's behavior. And I think that's where ACT can support the development of psychological safety.
mhm,
I believe ACT is that flexible that it can be applied and combined with other evidence-based approaches.
mhm. I like what you're saying there because I feel like it's good to talk about these things. But at the end of the day, it's good to be able to have the technology to be able to implement and do these things in a technology that perhaps is straightforward and crucially effective.
Mm.
It's super important. And also, you're referring to like investing. I also like that idea. I think, why not think of it as investing as like in anything else? Industries need to invest in this stuff and they get a return on their investment. Sure, I mean, it's people's happiness, but if that's what it takes for organizations to think about safety and well-being, whatever it takes.
Yeah, and we know with ACT, we've got an intervention that improves general mental health using a measure like, without getting too technical, the general health questionnaire we know, and other
Mm,
measures that are similar to that.
yeah.
And we know that psychological well-being is the most robust predictor of performance, attendance, and turnover.
Hmm.
So that's basically the argument in a nutshell.
Super powerful stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, as I know you as a trainer, is that you are super engaging. You make the training practical and fun. And there's a really nice metaphor called passengers on the bus, which, if people haven't heard of, they can go to many places, including your website, People Soup. I think you've spoken about it there. If you were a passenger on a bus, Ross, what kind of passenger would you be?
Oh my goodness. There's only one answer, Joe. It's the very anxious passenger who is catastrophizing about everything along the route.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I
It's
come from a long line of catastrophizers. I could represent my country in catastrophization.
like the next Olympics. That could be a thing. Right. Yep.
Yeah, maybe we should campaign for that. A whole different range of passengers at the Olympics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So catastrophizing is it? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
your specialty.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. The thing I like about that metaphor and sort of the way you're talking about it then is, I mean, it's a bit cheeky, it's a bit funny, it's I don't know, it's not like demeaning at all, but it sort of points to different qualities that catastrophizing can have. I think in a lot of time that anxiety that goes along with it is pretty sharp, but at the
Mm.
same time, there's a point to it, right? It has a meaning and a purpose, and that's a a good thing to recognize.
Yeah, and I think shining a light on it can really help us get that distance between us and those catastrophizing passengers,
Yeah,
and also help us understand the sort of evolutionary origin story of why our minds do this. We're not broken. We
yeah,
don't need fixing.
yeah,
It's just a thing that our minds do that isn't so useful in the
yeah.
world we live in.
I wanted to ask just about you as a business psychologist and coaching
Hmm.
psychologist. What would you say? I'm going to ask you about the best things and the worst things. I don't know, is worst the right way to put it? Yeah, what's the upsides? You jump out in the morning and go, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing this. And maybe what are some of the things that don't bounce you out of bed?
Hmm. Okay. So I think thinking particularly from an act perspective, it's the privilege of being able to share skills with people, perhaps
Mm,
skills they weren't exposed to during their schooling or further education. And seeing those light bulb moments like, oh, so it's not just me that has all these unhelpful thoughts. Seeing moments like that or seeing a sort of light bulbs go off, that can be an enormous privilege. I also like sitting with a one-to-one client in coaching or sitting with a team and holding a space for them in discomfort,
mm,
being with someone in their own discomfort, maybe quite an emotional state, or being with a team and holding them in a space similar to that. I think that's a pretty special moment.
mm,
And I really like the engagement with an audience, with a team in training, to get questions and to try and get my head around the questions
mm,
without getting too stuck inside my own head. Going,
mhm,
oh, I don't know the answer.
mm,
Having a go at answering from the perspective of what I'm training them in, whether it be ACT or whether it be things combined with ACT. Having a go at that, I like trying to build on things people say and helping them reflect on their own questions.
mhm,
So there's a little selection.
mm. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Yeah. I like that. You use the word privilege. I like that word in describing that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for someone to trust in me, whether
Mm,
it's a group or an individual, I don't take that lightly.
mm,
And it's how I can co-create that with them.
mhm. Yeah. 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 I get that. What are some of the downsides?
Goodness me. I've got one that comes immediately to mind because I
Mm,
do some virtual work and I do some face-to-face work. And
mm,
now I live in Spain, in Seville. That's quite a lot of kind of short haul-ish flights, like between 2 and 3 hours.
mhm.
So the thing I don't like is the limited leg room on
Right.
flights. because that means I end up arriving at the destination or getting home with backache,
Right.
feeling sort of cramps in my legs, and feeling a bit grumpy, to be honest. So that's not
That's
the way I want to show up, really.
that's the price you pay for being a taller than average person, Ross.
Yeah, yeah. And there is an answer to it. Book the seats where you have more leg room.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'm just really cost conscious. And then I think, look, you've got to look after your instruments, Joe.
Ah, indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe I've just said those words. But my instrument is my body. I sound like I'm a dancer.
Right.
But if I'm all creaky and achy,
Yeah.
it can leak out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the choice now is to get those seats with extra leg room,
Yeah.
which helps a lot actually. Although the seats are normally quite knackered, to be honest, and feel like they're not holding you in the right position.
I get that though. Yeah. You got to look after yourself, right? And arrive in a place so you can do your job and do it well and enjoy
Exactly.
it and be in a right place for it.
Yeah.
I've got a what would you call this? A new psychometric measure, not very well validated. The reliability is not probably fantastic, and that I've just devised it 20 minutes before this speaking to you. But it's word pairs. I'm going to ask you to choose one word out of a pair, and we'll just let our minds wonder about why
Ooh,
you've chosen that.
I love it.
Okay. Let's see where we get to. Broccoli or cabbage?
Broccoli,
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke,
Fast or slow?
slow.
Values or pain?
Ooh, values.
Green or orange?
Say again, sorry.
Green or orange?
Ooh, orange.
Ballet or opera?
Ballet,
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Summer or winter?
Ooh, summer.
McDonald's or KFC?
McDonald's,
Work or holiday?
holiday.
All right, nice. I feel like I've got to know you infinitely more.
Yeah, I think the pauses were quite interesting there.
Right, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, yeah. What was happening then?
I don't know. When you said work or holiday, I'm surprised I paused.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I
I
would.
think
Yeah.
I do like my work.
Aha. Right. That's what I was
And
wondering if that was what the pause was about. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get working on the internal reliability of that and get that written up, and we'll
Oh,
see where.
crikey.
I've got one last question for you.
Oh, crikey.
Um,
Okay.
I'm a big fan of top threes for some reason. I don't know. It's a sort of odd number. I
Yeah.
like threes, but could be any number. If I don't know, knowing me as you do, and just off the top of your head, what would be the three things you'd say to me to make me happier at work? And I know happier is a kind of loaded word term, but I don't know. What would you say to me?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's not unpack happier, but let me try and give you three top tips. I'd say pay as much attention to your time outside of work
Mm,
as you do to your time in work and have clear boundaries.
hmm
I know fellas like you and me who often are working from home.
hmm
How can you create those boundaries between the home and the rest of your life
hmm
and really work at that, devote time to that? I would also say, Joe, you are not your thoughts, would be my wise words.
Right.
Often we have unhelpful thoughts which we tend sometimes to give our 100% of our attention to.
Mm,
And just getting that distance between us and those thoughts can help us then see them for what they are and help us make choices.
mm.
So just keep that in mind. You're not your thoughts. And oh, blimey, I'm going to call upon a poem. So I'm going to say, take the first step, the step you don't want to take.
Mm.
And that's a poem by David White called, believe it's called Take the First Step.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Those are 3 fantastic pieces of advice. Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I really like that, especially that first one. I feel like sometimes it can be easy if I'm stuck here in front of my computer, devoting a lot of time and energy to this, and this is really important. Like work is important, pulls on me, and I really like the idea of stepping out of this little room and into the world outside, and having that same kind of level of energy or dedication to that out there as well. That's so important. Rather than just leaving the remains for my energy levels, I step outside and that's it. Yeah. I like that quote too. The idea of stepping forward into well, I'm not sure what the words were exactly, but I felt like stepping forward into maybe some scarier parts, or parts that maybe I wouldn't normally jump into, or taking some bold moves.
Yeah, it's taking that step and make it small. I would spoil the poem by saying taking that first small step, the step you don't want to take, because then you're in a process, you're on the way.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Oh, some nice 3 pieces of wisdom there. Thank you. Thanks, Ross, so much for your time. Great.
Thank you, Joe. That was fun.
Yeah, great. Okay, take care.
Cheers. Bye.